office made sure that every other alpha male was out the door so that this team could be Russell Wilson's. Now this? Shannon, interesting here. Does he have a point?
No. Russell wants to get protected. He wants to have input on the offense. Skip, a lot of times what we're seeing here is that if I'm reading Rob correctly, he said they paid him twice. All the dominant other voices, they removed from the equation to make sure Russ knew this was his team. Well, it's the equivalent, another relationship. Skip, you get married, you go, gave a nice wedding, gave a nice honeymoon, and then after that, it's over. We don't do no more vacations. We're not going out to eat. I done gave you all that. He's like, what you think gonna happen? You're gonna say, oh, no, you didn't. So in other words, because they removed the dominant voices, it's Russ's team. And because they paid him twice, Russ basically just throw the football. Russ says, I want to be protected. You see how many times Russ has been hitting? All of it is not on the offensive line fault. When you're a mobile quarterback, a lot of times you run yourselves into sacks. If you look at the guys that have been sacked the most, the majority of them were mobile. Brett Favre has been sacked the most. Brett Favre was mobile. John Elway's been sacked a lot. He was mobile. So was Ben Roethlisberger, Randall Cunningham, guys that can move around. Look at Tom Brady. Ben Roethlisberger is 5 sacks from behind Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's played probably 3 or 4 more years than Big Ben.
Ben's going to last one more, right?
Maybe it's 8 games if he keep on taking the punishment that he's taking. So what Russ is saying, and I want to be protected, guys. Y'all don't spend no money on the offensive line. For the last 3 or 4 years, we've had the 30th or the 32nd highest paid offensive line in football. So how do you expect me to win with that? Everybody get to have input. Your sons, they get input in the offense, but when I try to have some input into the offense, you scoff at that. So Russ has said, enough of this. I appreciate everything you've done, but if you think just because you turned the team over for me and you can leave me unprotected and I'm going to be okay, I'm not going to be okay with that. If you think I should not have input on what I think would work best for me, you're sadly mistaken. So, no, I do not agree with Rob. I understand he has the pulse, the heartbeat of the team, but I'm going to disagree. I'm going to respectfully disagree with him on this. Yeah. Russ says, I want to be protected. I want to have input on the team. And I get, well, he should have did this. Players always have to step on eggshells. Well, don't do this. Players never tell, teams never tell the players, we want to trade you. They just do it. Russ says, look, give me some input. I've gone to you. I've tried to be as respectful as I possibly can, but it's falling on deaf ears. Guess what? I got me a megaphone. I had my agent shout it out. Now y'all listening.
Interesting. So I know Michael Robinson, as you call him, Rob, a little bit. I really respect his opinion because he will plunge with what he believes.
Yes.
And I believe there's much truth to what he's saying. They did, for years, go out of their way to elevate Russ to the pedestal in the locker room, right?
Yeah.
It started with that Super Bowl after 2014 season. You always say that was the turning point for the Legion of Boom.
Yep.
And you know what happened? They put the ball in Russ's hands instead of beast modes.
Yep.
The 1 yard line, and the rest is Super Bowl history.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And from that moment on, one after another of the Legion of Boom gone, because they were rebelling inside. It was almost a wide open mutiny inside.
It was,
right?
Yes.
And it was all about Russell getting too much respect, getting elevated by management, almost like he was the teacher's pet.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay, so we've gone from that to the teacher's pet turning on the teachers, right? And we went from preseason last year when that annual NFL players-only top 100, voted upon by the players, top 100 players, Russell came within a whisker of beating out Lamar for the top spot. Remember that?
Yeah.
So he's 1A of the best player in football. And then he got off to a pretty good start, but over the last 11 games last year, he wasn't very good.
Right.
Because he had the second most turnovers in the whole NFL in the last 11 games. They did hang in. They hung on. They won the division. They got a home playoff game, and what happened?
They got shellacked.
They got shellacked by a rival within the division, the Rams, who had to start John Wolford at quarterback because Jared Goff had screws put in his throwing thumb because it was fractured, right? Then Walford's lost quickly, and they lost to Jared Goff with screws in his throwing thumb, right?
Correct.
And in that game, Russell Wilson, the final score is 30-20. Russell had a QBR of 17 on a scale 0 to 100, which is horrible.
Right.
He was horrible, certainly by best quarterback in the league standards, right? So we went from Seattle fans saying, let Russ cook, to let Russ sulk, because I became more and more disappointed in him, and I have great respect for him and on and off the field respect for him. But what started to happen? It felt like he was classic Aaron Rodgers blame deflecting. It felt like he was pointing fingers to take the onus off him and put it on them.
Well, Russ understands that he has to play better, Skip. The way that he played down the stretch, and you mentioned it, with the turnovers, is unacceptable. Like I said, a mobile quarterback a lot of times will run himself into sacks. When he's thinking that he's running away from something on the front side, he falls into the trap on the backside. And Russ does a lot of that. Deshaun gets sacked a lot because he's mobile. They feel they can get out of harm's way. Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, guys that you think, oh, man, they can get out of harm's way. They run themselves into trouble sometimes also. Skip, I get that. You've turned this over to me. But in the process of doing that, you've also hampered me by not giving me offensive linemen that can protect me. Skip, I mean, those offensive linemen, the 30th, you spent no money. Yes, you giving me great wide receivers, Lockett and DK Metcalf and Moore. Yeah, they got great weapons on the outside.
Was DK Metcalf not the steal of the 2019 draft? He was near the bottom of the second round.
Yep.
Was that not the steal?
He's been great. For whatever reasons that running backs can't stay healthy, it seems like.
But it's not like they're not there. They just can't stay healthy.
But I feel Russ, because at the end of the day, Skip, when this all thing is over, ain't nobody gonna look at nobody's gonna look at no linebackers. Ain't nobody looking at no DBs. Ain't no one looking at no running backs. This is gonna fall on Russell's. This is on Russell's plate. Russell, the quarterbacks get far too much of the credit. They get far too much of the blame. But you know when it's all said and done, this is gonna be Russ. Ain't nobody gonna mention nothing about no Legion of Boom. They gonna say, well, Russ didn't get it done. They gonna say, even though the Legion of Boom, you said it, they had that lead in the fourth quarter. But who takes the blame? Russ, he threw the ball. He threw what they couldn't understand, why, Pete, you even put him in that situation. And they said, Russ, a quarterback of your caliber, audible out of that. Run it. So they hold Pete and Russ equally responsible because they felt Russ had the cachet to audible out of that, and Pete should have never called a play with to begin with. But I understand Russ's frustration.
I think Darrell Bevel called it and Pete co-signed.
Right. Because it's a situation like the head coach can hear everything, both offensive and defensive calls. And you best believe, Skip, if they call something at Alabama and Coach Saban don't like it, you think they're going to run that play?
Nope.
So Pete Carroll...
Definitely when it comes to run or pass.
Yes.
Not specific play call, run or pass.
Right.
Because that's what Jimmy Johnson used to tell me. I do have final say, and I can tell Norv Turner, run it.
Run it, right.
You pick the run.
You pick the run. I ain't telling you what to run. You have to run 18 handoff strong or 19 handoff weak, but run the ball.
I agree. So when Pete Carroll heard pass, he was like, I'm good.
Right.
And when Russ heard pass in his headset, I think he was like, I got this. Right?
But the thing is, you got this. When you have an in-breaking route, Skip, and the guy is pressed in that area of the field, they got you dead to right.
Because do you really think he's going to audible out of that call on the play of the game?
He should have audible the sprint option. That's what everybody else runs. Clemson won the national.
I'll give you that. You would have had a little better shot.
It's a touchdown.
Yeah.
Because he's pressed, because now he's going to try to quick jam you, and you're going to be able to get to the outside.
Okay, he did not make a poor throw.
No.
It was on the money. It was Ricardo Lockett, who's a bigger, stronger possession receiver.
But Skip, you're trying to run. You're trying to get leverage. Brandon Browder is 6'4". He's long.
Yep.
Once he press and stales you, there's no way. Because now you don't get the rub on the outside on Malcolm Butler. So what is Butler going to do? Drive.
Break.
He's taught, say, look here, if they run sluggo on you, that's us. But you better not let...
He did say they had practiced against that play that week.
Yes.
Because remember, he barely played all year. He's a rookie, undrafted out of West Alabama.
They put him in the game because, if I'm not mistaken, Kyle Arrington was getting killed. He was getting torched.
Yep.
And so Coach Belichick said, no. No. And to give Butler credit, because he got him a play, the guy bobbled it, caught it, got up and tried to run it, and Malcolm Butler tackled him before he got to the end zone.
Yep.
So give him credit, Skip. Things haven't been the same. Russell is saying, Pete, I need protection and I need input. The same thing that Tom Brady, remember Tom Brady felt? What did Tom Brady say one of the reasons Tom Brady wanted to leave? He felt that his voice was no longer being heard.
I don't think his voice was ever heard on personnel input.
No. Russ don't care, Skip. Russ don't care. He don't want to say, well, go get me this offensive lineman. I just need some offensive linemen. Can we not just get all undrafted free agents? Can we not get all 5th and 6th round picks?
They did go get that Dwayne
Brown.
Who's pretty good. Maybe he's getting up there.
Yeah, he's getting on up there in age. But I get it with Russ. But you know what? Russ is starting to cause too much problem. Y'all should let him